Paul Daniel, maestro, coméntenos el programa del concierto esta semana con la Real Filharmonía de Galicia.
Well, I think it's a little bit unusual, but then I think quite a lot of our programs are unusual, and I like making unusual programs. There's no symphony, there's no real overture, there is certainly a concerto, and that's probably the most unusual piece to bring to Galicia, because I wonder if it's been done many times in Spain. It's the piano concerto of Michael Tippett, an English composer. It's a very special piece for me, and especially for the pianist, the soloist, Steven Osborne, who has recorded this piece and loves the music of Michael Tippett. Michael Tippett and Benjamin Britten, similar ages. Tippett was a little bit older, but they were both the new wave, if you like, of composers in the 20th century. Tippett a little bit older and maybe a little bit more eccentric. He was a very philosophical kind of composer. He tied a lot of his music and his ideas to ideas about the meaning of life, if you like, and it was quite mysterious sometimes. But in this concerto, it's a very lyrical, beautiful, and incredibly singing work that the piano really sings. And Tippett asks the orchestra to shine in many different ways. There are many solos for the wind players. There are many colours going right around the orchestra, particularly in the slow movement, the second movement, which is a very, very new kind of writing for Tippett. He combines all of the instruments of the orchestra in a kind of rhapsody when the timing goes completely against and around each other. Everyone kind of grows and develops rhythms and music around each other and against with the piano solo. So that's a very special piece. My program is 2 English works and 2 works from a Czech composer. The 2 English works are, of course, the concerto by Tippett and his friend, although they were very different, but they were great friends and they were very supportive of each other, Benjamin Britten, much more famous. We finished the program with his Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra, which is also called Variations on a Theme of Purcell. Purcell was an English composer from the 17th century, and Britten was, in a way, making new English music with old English music. He used a theme from this very old composer and used it for a fantastic set of virtuoso variations for the orchestra. It's like a mini concerto for orchestra. Very short and very punchy. All of the sections of the orchestra, and then pretty well all of the individual instruments are featured one after the other before everybody comes together in a big fugue at the end. It's a wonderful, wonderful kind of fireworks piece for the orchestra. And then 2 pieces which we haven't played here recently. One of them quite rare, both of them from my homeland, my patria, from Smetana. And they come from the second part of the 19th century. They're wonderful romantic pieces, but built very much on a classical tradition, and they're nature pieces and pieces about place. Vltava, which is the river, it's this wonderful portrait, if you like, of this beautiful river which flows right through Prague, and it's full of the tiniest beginnings when the music is just starting from the first spring at the top of the mountains until it becomes the wide river that everybody knows. And it's a very proud piece, but full of atmosphere and colour. There's a moment when the river goes through during the night through this wonderful moonlit scene with the moonlight, and the orchestra plays Moonlight. It's playing a calm river, it's playing a little stream, then it plays the rapids, an area where the river is forced through very, very white water, called the St. John's Rapids. It's a wonderful, wonderful nature piece, an evocation of nature. And the other piece, which is, as I say, quite rare, is by Smetana, part of the same cycle of pictures of his homeland. It's called Sharka, and it's actually about a woman. It's about a woman's army, women against men, And it's a very, very strong statement about what women can achieve. In his time, Sharka was a woman who decided to take on the men of the enemy. And she tricked them. She pretended to be a prisoner of the rebellious women. She tied herself to a tree so that the men would think that she was a prisoner, but actually she wasn't. They freed her, and she had a bottle of mead, of honey drink, and she gave it to the men to drink, and this was a drug, and all the men collapsed unconscious, and they were all killed. So it's a good example of how the power of women. So those pieces all mixed together: nature, power, a wonderful lyrical piano concerto with a fantastic English pianist.
Muchas gracias, maestro.
Thank you very much.